My son married a woman who forbade me to see my grandchildren. She said, "You're a bad influence." I stayed silent for 3 years, but when she was hospitalized, my son called me in panic. "Mom, only you can help with the kids." I replied, "I'm glad you're here with me. Please listen to my story till the end and let me know which city you're listening from. That way I can see how far my story has traveled. My name is Deborah, and for 58 years I believed I understood what family meant. I raised my son Michael in a small town outside Portland, just the two of us after his father died when Michael was only 7. We were close, closer than most mothers and sons, people used to say. Every Sunday, we'd have breakfast together. Every holiday, our home filled with laughter. I thought that closeness would last forever. Then Ashley walked into our lives. Michael met her at a corporate training seminar in Seattle. She was 26, blonde, ambitious, with a smile that could light up a room, or so he told me over dinner when he first introduced us. I wanted to like her. I really did. She was polite enough that first evening, complimenting my pot roast, asking questions about my work as a school librarian, but something in her eyes didn't match her smile, something calculating. "She's perfect, Mom," Michael said after she left. "I think she's the one." 6 months later, they were engaged. I hosted the engagement party, made sure everything was flawless. Ashley's mother, Patricia, arrived in a designer suit and barely concealed disdain for my modest home. "Charming," she said, her tone suggesting the opposite. Ashley said nothing, just smiled that same smile. The wedding was beautiful. I paid for half of it despite my limited savings. I wanted Michael happy. But during the reception, I overheard Ashley talking to her bridesmaids. "At least we won't have to deal with her much after this," she laughed. "Michael's already agreed we'll spend holidays with my family." My stomach twisted. When I tried to talk to Michael about it later, he brushed me off. "You misheard, Mom. Ashley loves you." Did she, though? The first year of their marriage, the Sunday breakfast stopped. "We're busy settling in," Michael explained. Then the holidays shifted to Ashley's parents' mansion across town. "It's easier, Mom. They have more space." I visited occasionally, but Ashley always seemed irritated by my presence. She'd make little comments about my outdated clothing, my old-fashioned parenting advice, the way I pronounced certain words. Then Emma was born, my first grandchild. I wept with joy when I held her in the hospital, but Ashley's smile was tight. "She needs to rest now, Deborah," she said, taking Emma from my arms after barely 2 minutes. The visits became shorter, more supervised. Ashley was always hovering, correcting me. "That's not how we do tummy time. We don't use those old nursery rhymes anymore. Please don't bring those toys. They're not educational enough." When Emma turned 2, they had a son, Lucas. I drove to the hospital immediately, but Ashley wouldn't let me in the room. "Family only," the nurse said, clearly instructed. I sat in the waiting room for 4 hours before Michael finally came out, exhausted and apologetic. "Maybe tomorrow, Mom?" Tomorrow never came. The alienation happened gradually, like a slow-growing cancer. And Michael stopped returning my calls as quickly. Plans got canceled. Birthdays became small, immediate family-only affairs. I started seeing photos on Facebook of Emma and Lucas with Ashley's parents. At the zoo, at birthday parties, at Christmas. I wasn't in any of them. Then came the day Ashley said it to my face. I'd stopped by their house unannounced, desperate to see my grandchildren. Ashley opened the door, her expression hard. "Deborah, we need to talk. I just wanted to see Emma and Lucas for a few minutes." "That's the problem," she interrupted. "You don't respect boundaries. You're not a good influence on them. Your old-fashioned ideas, your negativity, the way you undermine my parenting. Michael and I have discussed it. We think it's best if you don't come around anymore." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Ashley, please." "I'm sorry," she said, not sounding sorry at all. "This is what's best for our family." The door closed in my face. I called Michael immediately, but he didn't answer. When he finally called back 3 days later, his voice was strained. "Mom, Ashley's right. You do undermine her. Maybe some space would be good, just for a while." A while turned into months. Months turned into years. 3 years. 3 years of silence. 3 years of missed birthdays, missed Christmases, missed everything. I sent cards and gifts. They were never acknowledged. I saw Emma start kindergarten only through Facebook photos I wasn't supposed to see. I watched Lucas grow from a toddler to a little boy through pictures posted by Ashley's friends. I grieved like they had died. Some days, I wished I had died instead. Then, on a Tuesday evening in March, my phone rang. Michael's name flashed on the screen. "Mom!" His voice was panicked, desperate. "Mom, I need you. Ashley's in the hospital. Emergency appendectomy, and she'll be there for at least a week. Her mother's in Europe, and I have a presentation I can't miss tomorrow. The kids, I don't know what to do with the kids. Please, only you can help. Who can..." 3 years of silence, 3 years of rejection, 3 years of deliberate cruelty. I let the silence stretch between us for a long moment. "Let me think about it," I said, my voice ice cold. "I'll call you back." Then I hung up. I sat in my small living room, staring at my phone, hands trembling. For 20 minutes, I didn't move. I just stared at the wall where photographs used to hang. Photographs of Michael as a child, of us together, smiling. I'd taken them down 2 years ago because looking at them hurt too much. The blank wall now seemed like a metaphor for my life. Empty. Erased. Michael had called me. After 3 years of enforced silence, of being told I was a bad influence, of being deliberately excluded from my grandchildren's lives, he had actually called. Not to apologize, not to reconnect, but because he needed something from me. The audacity of it stole my breath. I walked to my bedroom and opened the closet. In the back, in a cardboard box I'd shoved behind my winter coats, were all the birthday cards I'd sent to Emma and Lucas. Returned to sender, unopened. Christmas presents I'd mailed, rejected. Photographs I'd tried to drop off at their house, left on the porch in the rain. I'd kept everything, unable to throw away these artifacts of my love and rejection. Emma was 5 now. Lucas was 3. I'd missed Emma's first day of school, her first lost tooth, her learning to ride a bike. I'd missed Lucas's first words, his first steps, everything. These weren't just memories. They were stolen years of my life. Years Ashley had taken from me with Michael's permission. What kind of grandmother doesn't know her grandchildren's favorite foods? Their favorite stories? What makes them laugh? I was a stranger to them. They probably didn't even remember me. The rage came then, hot and clarifying. Not the explosive kind, the cold, calculated kind that sharpens your thinking instead of clouding it. Ashley had isolated me systematically, and Michael had let it happen. They'd used me when convenient, my money for the wedding, my emotional support when Michael needed it early in their marriage, and then discarded me when Ashley decided I was no longer useful. Now they needed me again. My first instinct was to refuse, to let Michael scramble and panic and figure it out himself. Let him feel a fraction of the helplessness I'd felt for 3 years. Let him beg his wife's friends, or hire emergency childcare, or miss his precious presentation. He deserved it. But then, Emma and Lucas, they were innocent in all this. Children who'd been taught to forget their grandmother, who'd been deprived of my love through no fault of their own. I sat down at my kitchen table with a notepad and pen. Old-fashioned, yes, but I've always thought better with pen and paper. At the top I wrote, "What do I want?" The answer came immediately. I want my grandchildren back. Not just a desperate week of babysitting while Ashley recovered. not temporary access that would disappear the moment she returned. I wanted a genuine, permanent relationship with Emma and Lucas. I wanted to be their grandmother in more than name only. But how? I couldn't force Michael to see reason. 3 years proved that. I couldn't convince Ashley. She'd made her hatred of me clear. Going through court seemed impossible without evidence of wrongdoing, and unfortunately, excluding a grandmother wasn't illegal, just cruel. Then it hit me. The children themselves were the answer. If I could spend this week with them, really connect with them, show them love, be the grandmother I'd been prevented from being, they would remember. Children aren't stupid. They feel genuine affection. They know when someone cares. And if Emma and Lucas wanted to see me after this week, if they asked for me, it would be much harder for Ashley to refuse. Michael had given me an opening, however reluctantly, a week, 7 days. It wasn't much, but it was more than I'd had in 3 years. I needed to be strategic. I needed to document everything, not just for potential legal purposes, but to show Michael the truth about what his wife had done. I needed to understand what Ashley had told the children about me. I needed to rebuild from ground zero, and I needed to protect myself, because Ashley wouldn't take this lying down. Once she realized I'd use this week to bond with Emma and Lucas, she'd retaliate. I needed to be ready. I made a list. Agree to help, but on my terms. Document everything. Keep a journal, save messages, take photos. Focus entirely on the children. Make them feel loved and safe. Gently probe what they've been told about me. Don't badmouth Ashley or Michael. Children sense manipulation. Reach out to old friends who knew our family before Ashley. Consider consulting a family lawyer, just in case. Be prepared for Ashley's fury when she finds out. Could I really do this? Could I walk back into a situation where I'd been so deeply wounded and stay clear-headed enough to execute a plan? I looked at the box of return letters, at the blank wall, at the phone that rarely rang anymore because most of my friends had drifted away during my depression. Yes, I could, because the alternative was losing Emma and Lucas forever. I picked up my phone and called Michael back. "I'll help," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "But we need to discuss some ground rules first. I'm coming over tomorrow morning at 7. Have the children ready." "Thank you, Mom. Thank you so much. You don't know how much—" 7 a.m., Michael. We'll talk then. I hung up before he could say anything else. Then I opened my laptop and started typing. Day 1, March 14th. The day I decided to fight for my family. Tomorrow, everything would change. I arrived at Michael's house at 6:55 a.m. The large colonial Ashley had insisted they buy, with my money contributing to the down payment, though she'd never acknowledged that, looked imposing in the early morning light. The perfectly manicured lawn, the expensive cars in the driveway, everything designed to project success and status. I rang the doorbell. Michael opened it immediately, looking exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes, shirt wrinkled, hair uncombed. "Mom." "Thank God. Come in." The house was chaos. Toys scattered everywhere. Breakfast dishes piled in the sink. Emma sat on the couch in her pajamas, watching cartoons with a blank expression. Lucas was crying somewhere upstairs. "I've been up since 4, Michael said desperately. "Lucas won't stop crying for Ashley. Emma won't eat breakfast. I have to be at the office in an hour for this presentation, and I still need to shower and—" "Go," I said quietly. "Shower, get ready, I've got this." Relief flooded his face. "The schedule is on the fridge. Emma has kindergarten at 8:30. Lucas's preschool is at 9. Pickup times are—" "Michael, I raised a child. Go get ready." He hesitated, then nodded and disappeared upstairs. I stood in the entryway of my son's home, a home I'd been banned from for 3 years, and felt the surreality of the moment. Then I heard Lucas's wailing intensify, and my grandmother instincts kicked in. I climbed the stairs and found him in his bedroom, red-faced and sobbing, clutching a stuffed elephant. He looked at me with confusion and fear. Of course he was afraid. He didn't know me. "Hi, Lucas," I said softly, staying in the doorway. "My name is Deborah. I'm your daddy's mommy, your grandma. Can I come in?" He just cried harder. I sat down in the hallway, giving him space. "That's a nice elephant. What's his name?" Silence, except for sniffling. "When your daddy was little, he had a stuffed bear named Mr. Buttons. Maybe your elephant knows Mr. Buttons?" Lucas peeked at me through his tears. "Peanut," he whispered. "Peanut is a perfect name for an elephant. Does Peanut like pancakes? Because I make really good pancakes." A tiny nod. "Then let's go make pancakes for Peanut. But first, we need to get Peanut dressed. Do you think he'd like to wear your blue shirt today?" 10 minutes later, Lucas was dressed and holding my hand as we walked downstairs. Small victories. Emma was still on the couch, but she'd turned off the TV and was watching us warily. She was beautiful. Dark hair like Michael's, but Ashley's sharp features. And those eyes, studying me with an intelligence that reminded me uncomfortably of her mother. "Your Grandma Deborah," she said. Not a question, a statement. "I am. You have a good memory. Mommy says you used to try to visit us a lot, but you made her upset, so we couldn't see you anymore." My heart clenched, but I kept my voice steady. "Sometimes grown-ups have disagreements, but I'm here now to take care of you while your mommy gets better. Would you like pancakes?" "Mommy says pancakes have too much sugar. We eat Greek yogurt and granola. Greek yogurt and granola are also delicious. We can have both. Options are good." Something flickered in Emma's eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or relief. Michael left for work after giving me hurried instructions. The moment his car pulled away, I began my real work. First, I looked around the house properly. In the kitchen, I found Ashley's command center, a massive bulletin board with schedules, rules, meal plans, and numerous notes in her sharp handwriting. Emma, no junk food, monitor screen time, educational content only. Lucas, no sugar after 3 p.m., both children, bed at 7 p.m. sharp, no exceptions. I took a photo with my phone. In the living room, I noticed something else. No photographs of me anywhere, not a single one. But Ashley's parents were everywhere, on the mantle, the walls, the side tables. It was like I'd been erased from the family narrative. I photographed that too. While the children ate breakfast, I asked casual questions. "What do you like to do for fun, Emma?" "Piano lessons, French tutoring, math enrichment." "That sounds educational. What about just playing?" She looked confused. "Mommy says playing without learning is wasting time." My God, she was 5 years old. "What about you, Lucas? Do you like to play?" "Trucks," he said enthusiastically. "But Mommy says trucks are too loud." Over the next few days, a pattern emerged. Ashley had engineered every aspect of these children's lives for maximum achievement and minimum joy. Emma couldn't name a single friend from school, only study partners from her enrichment classes. Lucas had never been to a playground. Ashley thought they were full of germs and unsupervised children. Both kids went to bed with nightlights and white noise machines because they were afraid of the dark. Emma bit her nails nervously whenever I asked about her mother. Lucas had started stuttering recently, something Michael mentioned but Ashley had dismissed as a phase. These weren't just isolated incidents. This was a pattern of anxiety and control. I documented everything in a journal I kept in my purse: dates, times, quotes, behaviors. On the third day, Emma came to me after school with tears in her eyes. "Grandma Deborah, can I ask you something?" "Of course, sweetheart." "Why doesn't Mommy smile very much? Is it because of me?" My heart broke. I knelt down to her level. "Oh, honey, no, that has nothing to do with you. You are perfect exactly as you are." She hugged me then, suddenly, desperately. and I held my granddaughter for the first time in 3 years and felt her small body shake with silent sobs. That night, I found something else. In the home office, Ashley's office, really, there was a file cabinet. One drawer was slightly open. Inside, folders labeled with names. One was labeled Deborah. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were printouts, screenshots of my Facebook page, emails I'd sent to Michael with Ashley's handwritten notes in the margins. Manipulative, passive-aggressive, trying to guilt trip. There were even drafts of emails Ashley had written, pretending to be Michael, establishing boundaries with me. She'd been systematically building a case against me for years, documenting every interaction, twisting every innocent comment into evidence of my supposed toxicity. This wasn't just dislike. This was calculated alienation. I photographed every page. That night, Michael called to check in. "How's it going, Mom?" "The children are wonderful," I said carefully. "We're getting along well." "That's great. Ashley's doing better. She might come home sooner than expected, maybe in 3 or 4 days." 3 or 4 days. My time was running out. "Michael, can I ask you something? When was the last time you really talked to Emma? I mean, really listened to her?" Silence, then, "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just spend some time with your kids when you get home tonight. Really pay attention." After I hung up, I stared at the photos on my phone, the evidence, the proof. Ashley had been monitoring and controlling everything, and now she knew, through Michael's updates probably, that I was here, in her house, with her children. She would be furious. I needed to move faster. On the 4th morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls, all from the same number, the hospital. Not the hospital, Ashley. I listened to the voicemails over coffee while Emma and Lucas still slept. Ashley's voice escalated from restrained politeness to barely controlled fury across the 17 messages. "Deborah, this is Ashley. Michael tells me you're doing well with the children. Thank you. Call me back." "Deborah, I need to discuss the children's routines with you. It's important. Please call." "Did you actually take them to a public playground? Do you have any idea what kind of germs?" "Why aren't you answering? Michael says you're letting them eat pancakes and watch non-educational programming. This is completely unacceptable." The final message was ice cold. "I'm checking myself out of the hospital early. I'll be home tomorrow. We need to talk." Tomorrow, I had one more day. I didn't call her back. Instead, I spent that day making it count. I took Emma and Lucas to the Children's Museum, somewhere they'd never been. I watched Lucas's face light up at the water play area. I held Emma's hand as she carefully painted a ceramic butterfly, her tongue sticking out in concentration. "Grandma," she whispered, "can we come here again?" "I hope so, sweetheart." We got ice cream afterward. Lucas got chocolate all over his face and laughed. Actually laughed. The sound so pure and unguarded that I nearly cried. Emma tried mint chip and declared it better than Greek yogurt, then looked guilty for saying it. "It's okay to like different things," I told her. "Your mom loves you and wants what's best for you. But different people can have different opinions about what best means. That's normal." I wouldn't badmouth Ashley to these children, but I would show them that love didn't require perfection or rigid control. That evening, Michael came home early. His expression was troubled. "Mom, can we talk outside?" We stood on the porch while the children watched a movie inside, an animated film about friendship, not educational enough for Ashley, but exactly what they needed. "Ashley's coming home tomorrow," Michael said. "She's upset. She thinks you've been undermining her parenting." "Have I?" "She says you took them to a playground without asking, that you're feeding them sugar, that you're too lenient with screen time and bedtime." "Michael, look at me. When was the last time you saw your children actually happy? Not accomplished, not achieving, happy." He flinched. That's not fair, isn't it? Emma thinks your wife's unhappiness is her fault. Lucas stutters now. Did you know that? Did you notice? Ashley says the stuttering is developmental. Ashley says. Ashley thinks. Ashley decided. I kept my voice level. What do you say? What do you think? What have you decided about your own children? You don't understand the pressure we're under. Ashley wants them to have every advantage, to be competitive for good schools. They're 5 and 3 years old, Michael. They should be playing and learning to be kind and discovering what they enjoy, not training for college admissions. He ran his hand through his hair, frustrated. This is exactly what Ashley said you'd do. Turn me against her, make her seem like the bad guy. I'm not trying to turn you against anyone. I'm asking you to see what's in front of you. Ashley's a good mother. I didn't say she wasn't. But good mothers can still make mistakes, just like good grandmothers can. I paused. Ashley kept me from these children for 3 years. She told them I made her upset, that I was a bad influence. She erased me from their lives. Can you honestly say that was right? For a moment, just a moment, doubt flickered across his face. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it. Ashley, I need to call her back. He went inside, leaving me alone on the porch. The next morning, I arrived early even though I wasn't scheduled to come. I had a bad feeling. Ashley was already there. She was thinner, paler, but her eyes were sharp with fury. She stood in the kitchen like a general commanding her territory. Michael hovered nervously. Emma and Lucas sat at the table, silent and small. Deborah, Ashley said. Her voice could have frozen water. Thank you for helping. You can go now. I'd like to say goodbye to the children first. I said you can go. Emma's eyes filled with tears. But Grandma was going to... Emma, quiet. Ashley didn't raise her voice, but the command was absolute. Emma flinched. Something in me snapped. No, I said. Ashley's head turned slowly toward me. Excuse me. I said no. I'm not leaving without saying goodbye to my grandchildren properly. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. This is my house. Actually, it's Michael's house, too. Michael, do I have your permission to say goodbye to Emma and Lucas? Michael looked between us, trapped. Mom, maybe it's better if you just... Michael, answer the question. Can I have 5 minutes with my grandchildren? Yes or no? The room fell silent. Ashley stared at him, daring him to defy her. Emma and Lucas watched their father with wide eyes. 5 minutes, he finally said, his voice barely audible. Ashley's expression went arctic. Fine, 5 minutes. And then she leaves, Michael, and she doesn't come back. Ever. Do you understand me? She turned and walked out of the kitchen, her footsteps sharp on the hardwood. I knelt down and hugged Emma and Lucas. I love you both, I whispered. Remember that, always remember that. When can we see you again? Emma asked, tears streaming down her face. Soon, I promised, though I didn't know if it was true. As soon as I can, sweetheart. Lucas clung to me. Don't go, Gamma. It took everything I had to let them go and walk out that door. In my car, I sat for a long time, hands shaking. Then I called someone I'd been avoiding calling for years. My old friend Margaret, a family law attorney. Margaret, it's Deborah. I need help, and I need to know what grandparents' rights look like in Oregon. Ashley had just made her biggest mistake. She'd shown me she would never, ever voluntarily let me be part of those children's lives. So I would stop asking for permission. For 3 days, I heard nothing. No calls from Michael, no messages. It was like I'd been erased again. But I wasn't passive this time. I spent those 3 days building my case. Margaret reviewed everything I documented. The photos, the journal entries, Emma's anxiety, Lucas's stuttering, the file Ashley had kept on me. She listened to the voicemail recordings I'd saved where Ashley's mask slipped. This is good, Margaret said, leaning back in her office chair. It's not abuse in the legal sense, but it shows a pattern of alienation. In Oregon, grandparents can petition for visitation rights if it's in the children's best interest. You'd need to prove that you had a substantial relationship with the children that was wrongfully interrupted. Ashley would fight it. Oh, absolutely. It would be ugly, expensive, and there's no guarantee you'd win. She paused. But sometimes the threat of legal action is enough to bring people to the negotiating table. I left her office with a draft petition and a heavy heart. Did I really want to sue my own son for access to my grandchildren? What would that do to our relationship? But what relationship did we have now? One where I existed only when convenient for Ashley? That evening, my doorbell rang. Patricia stood on my porch. Ashley's mother. Designer handbag, pearl necklace, expression of cultivated sympathy. I hadn't seen her since the wedding. "Deborah, dear, may I come in?" Every instinct told me to refuse, but curiosity won. Of course. She settled into my modest living room like a queen visiting a peasant village. Her eyes swept over my secondhand furniture, my worn carpet, my small television. Judgment in every glance. "Can I offer you tea?" I asked. "No, thank you. I won't be long." She smiled. Ashley's smile, cold and calculated. "I wanted to speak with you about the recent situation." "Ashley keeping me from my grandchildren, you mean?" "Now let's not be dramatic. Ashley is a wonderful mother, perhaps a bit particular about certain things, but she only wants what's best for Emma and Lucas. Surely you can understand that." Of course. Every mother wants what's best for her children. I certainly did when I raised Michael. Patricia's smile tightened. "Yes, Michael. Such a capable young man, successful, good provider. Ashley's done well for herself." The implication was clear. Your son married up. "He has done well," I agreed. "I'm very proud of him." "Then surely you want him to be happy, and his marriage to be harmonious?" "Of course." "Deborah, let me be frank. This legal consultation you had with Margaret Foster, small town, people talk. If you pursue this ridiculous grandparents' rights petition, you'll only hurt Michael and stress the children. Is that really what you want?" I kept my expression neutral. "What I want is to be part of my grandchildren's lives. And you could be, in moderation, with appropriate boundaries." She leaned forward. "Ashley and I discussed it. If you agree not to pursue legal action, we're willing to allow supervised visits. Once a month, at our house." Once a month. Supervised. At their house where Ashley controlled everything. "That's very generous," I said, my tone flat. "We think so. It's more than Ashley wanted to offer, frankly. But I convinced her that family harmony is important." Patricia opened her handbag and pulled out an envelope. "We've even drafted a simple agreement. Nothing legal, just a gentleman's understanding. You agree not to pursue legal action, and you get reasonable access to the children." She held out the envelope. I didn't take it. "Deborah, be sensible. You can't win a legal battle against us. We have resources, attorneys on retainer. And frankly, Ashley will make an excellent witness. She's documented every concern she's had about your behavior, every boundary you've crossed, every instance of me trying to love my grandchildren," I interrupted softly. Patricia's mask slipped for just a second. "Every instance of you trying to undermine her authority as a mother. Now, are you going to be reasonable or not?" I stood up. "Thank you for coming, Patricia. You can tell Ashley that I'll consider her offer." "Consider?" She looked outraged. "This is a one-time offer, Deborah. If you don't agree now..." I said I'll consider it. Have a good evening. I walked to the door and opened it. Patricia stood slowly, her expression venomous now. "You're making a mistake," she said. "Ashley will destroy you in court, and Michael will never forgive you for forcing him to choose between his mother and his wife." "Perhaps, but at least I'll have tried." "Good night, Patricia." She left in a cloud of expensive perfume and suppressed fury. I closed the door and leaned against it, heart pounding. The envelope sat on my coffee table unopened. They were scared. That's what this was. Patricia wouldn't have come here with an offer if they weren't worried about what I might do legally. I picked up my phone and called Margaret. They offered me once-monthly supervised visits if I don't pursue legal action, I told her. And I'm going to decline. File the petition. Deborah, are you sure? This will get nasty. I'm sure. But Margaret, I need to talk to other people who knew me before Ashley. People who saw my relationship with Michael, who can testify that I was a good mother and that I tried to have a relationship with my grandchildren. Can you help me with that? Absolutely. Start making a list. Over the next few days, I reached out to people I'd lost touch with during my years of isolation. My former colleagues from the library, neighbors who'd watched Michael grow up, his old teachers, friends from church who'd known our family for decades. The response surprised me. Everyone remembered. Everyone had noticed my absence from Emma and Lucas's lives. And several people had their own uncomfortable stories about Ashley. Coldness at community events, dismissive comments about older generations, visible control over Michael. I wanted to say something, my old friend Susan confessed over coffee, but it wasn't my place, and Michael seemed, compliant, like he'd given up fighting. He has, I said sadly. He chose peace over principle. What will you do? I'm going to fight for my grandchildren, even if it costs me my relationship with my son. Susan squeezed my hand. I'll testify for you, whatever you need. By the end of the week, I had 12 people willing to provide statements about my character, my relationship with Michael, and my attempts to be involved with Emma and Lucas. Ashley and Patricia's offer sat on my table, still unopened. I finally threw it away. I had support now, resources, and more importantly, I had resolve. The war was just beginning. 2 weeks after Patricia's visit, Ashley and Michael showed up at my door together. It was a Saturday morning. I was in my garden, planting tomatoes, a hobby I'd returned to after years of depression-induced neglect. I saw their car pull up and knew immediately this wasn't going to be pleasant. Ashley looked fully recovered now. Perfectly styled hair, designer casual clothes, that sharp look in her eyes. Michael looked tired, trapped. He couldn't meet my gaze. "Mom," he said, "can we come in? We need to talk." I almost said no, but something in Michael's posture stopped me. He looked defeated. "All right," I said, "let me wash up." They sat in my living room like visiting dignitaries in hostile territory. Ashley perched on the edge of the couch, back straight, radiating controlled anger. Michael sank into the armchair, looking at his hands. "Deborah," Ashley began, her voice artificially sweet. "Michael and I have been discussing everything that happened. We realize there may have been some misunderstandings." "Misunderstandings," I repeated neutrally. "Yes. I know I can be protective of my children, perhaps overly so. It's just that Emma and Lucas mean everything to me. I want them to have every opportunity to be safe, to thrive. I'm sure you can understand that as a mother yourself." Every word carefully chosen, every sentence designed to sound reasonable. "Of course," I said. Michael helped me see that I may have been too harsh about visits, that family relationships are important. She glanced at Michael, who nodded obediently. "So we wanted to come here today to propose a fresh start, a chance to rebuild our relationship." "I see. We know you consulted with an attorney." Her voice hardened slightly. "That was hurtful. To think you'd consider taking legal action against your own family, but were willing to move past it, forget it ever happened. How generous." If she heard the sarcasm, she ignored it. "We're proposing regular visits, every other Sunday. You can come to our house for dinner. The children would love to see you." "At your house?" under your supervision. Well, naturally, the children are young. They need structure and consistency. And frankly, Deborah, after you undermined my parenting during your week with them, I need to ensure— Undermined your parenting, I interrupted, by taking them to a playground, by letting them eat ice cream, by allowing them to laugh. Ashley's mask cracked. By making them think my rules don't matter, by confusing them about boundaries and expectations. Emma cried for 2 days after you left, saying she wanted to go back to the museum with fun grandma. Do you have any idea how that made me feel? Like you're losing control? I asked quietly. Her eyes flashed. Like you're trying to replace me. Like you're using my children to validate yourself because your own life is so empty and pathetic. Ashley, Michael said weakly, that's not— Oh, shut up, Michael. Your mother needs to hear this. She turned back to me, and now the mask was completely gone. You're alone. You work a meaningless job at a library. You live in this tiny house with your bargain furniture and your sad little garden. You have no husband, no real friends, nothing important in your life. So you're trying to steal my children to fill that void. I sat very still, letting her words wash over me. This was who Ashley really was. This was what Michael lived with. Is that what you think? I asked. That's what I know. And here's what else I know. You'll never win in court. Never. I've documented everything, every inappropriate comment, every boundary violation, every time you tried to manipulate Michael. I have messages, emails, witnesses. My parents have connections with the best family law attorneys in the state. We'll bury you. Ashley, Michael tried again. We're supposed to be trying to make peace. Peace? She whirled on him. Your mother is threatening to sue us and you want peace? She's the one who needs to back down. She's the one who needs to accept that she doesn't get a say in how we raise our children. They're my children too, Ashley, Michael said quietly. The room went silent. Ashley stared at him. What did you say? They're my children too, not just yours. And she's my mother. She raised me by herself after Dad died. She worked 2 jobs to put me through college. She's never been anything but loving to me, to Emma, to Lucas, and we've treated her like she's toxic just because you decided she wasn't good enough for your perfect family. I barely breathed. Was Michael actually standing up to her? Ashley's expression transformed into something ugly. Are you seriously taking her side right now? I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm just saying maybe Mom has a point. Maybe we have been too harsh. Emma does ask about her, and Lucas remembers the pancakes. Oh, the fucking pancakes, Ashley exploded. Everyone remembers the magical pancakes that fun grandma makes. Never mind that I'm the one who does everything else. The schedules, the appointments, the enrichment activities, the discipline. But sure, she shows up for 1 week, breaks all the rules, and suddenly she's the hero. Ashley, please calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. She stood abruptly. I came here to be the bigger person, to offer an olive branch. But clearly that was a mistake. She grabbed her purse. Michael, we're leaving, now. Michael looked at me, then at Ashley, clearly torn. Michael, Ashley said, her voice deadly quiet. If you don't get up right now and come with me, you can stay here with your mother. But if you do, don't bother coming home. Do you understand me? An ultimatum. Choose me or her. Michael stood slowly. Mom, I'm sorry. I need to— Go, I said softly. It's all right, Michael. But it wasn't all right. His eyes were anguished as Ashley dragged him toward the door. At the threshold, Ashley turned back. You're done, Deborah. You'll never see those children again. I'll make sure of it. And if you try to file that petition, I'll make your life a living hell. Do you hear me? A living hell. The door slammed. I sat in the sudden silence, heart hammering. My hands were shaking. Part of me was terrified. Ashley meant every word. She would fight dirty. She had resources, connections, ruthlessness. But another part of me felt strangely calm because Ashley had just made another critical mistake. She'd shown her true face not just to me but to Michael. And in that moment when he'd said, "They're my children too," I'd seen something I hadn't seen in 3 years. Doubt, clarity, backbone. He wasn't completely lost to her yet. I picked up my phone and called Margaret. "They just left my house," I said. "Ashley threatened me directly, told me she'd make my life hell if I pursue the petition." Michael briefly stood up to her. "Did you record any of it?" "No, but..." "Start recording everything from now on. Oregon is a one-party consent state. If she threatens you again, document it." Margaret paused. "Deborah, are you sure you want to continue? This is going to get worse before it gets better." I looked at the photo on my side table, the one I'd finally framed again. Michael as a little boy, grinning gap-toothed at the camera, holding my hand. "I'm sure," I said. "File the petition. Let's do this." The petition was filed on a Monday morning. By Monday afternoon, all hell broke loose. Ashley's attorney, a shark from a downtown Portland firm, sent a 20-page response denying everything and painting me as an unstable, boundary-violating narcissist who'd harassed their family for years. They included Ashley's carefully curated file on me as evidence. Margaret wasn't impressed. "Overreaching, too aggressive, they're scared." "They don't look scared." "Trust me. People who aren't scared don't hire attorneys who charge $800 an hour for a grandparents' visitation case." 2 weeks later, we had our first mediation session. It was held in a neutral office building, all gray carpet and fluorescent lights. Ashley arrived with her attorney and her mother. Michael came separately, looking like he hadn't slept in days. I came with Margaret and my file of documentation. The mediator, a pleasant woman in her 60s named Carol, explained the process. "We're here to see if we can reach an agreement without going to court. This is informal, confidential, and voluntary. Everyone will have a chance to speak." Ashley's attorney, a man named Richard Blackwell, immediately went on the offensive. "My client is willing to offer supervised visits once per month for 2 hours, supervised by Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, Ashley's parents. This is contingent upon Mrs. Davis agreeing to cease all legal action and signing a binding agreement not to pursue future claims." "That's unacceptable," Margaret said calmly. "My client is seeking reasonable visitation. Once per month for 2 hours is not reasonable. Neither is supervision by Mrs. Patterson's parents, who are clearly biased against Mrs. Davis. Mrs. Patterson has legitimate concerns about the petitioner's influence on her children." "Based on what evidence?" Margaret pulled out a folder. "We have documentation showing that Mrs. Davis's 1 week caring for the children was entirely appropriate. The children were safe, happy, and thriving. We also have documentation showing that Mrs. Patterson has systematically alienated Mrs. Davis from her grandchildren for over 3 years with no legitimate basis." Blackwell bristled. "Mrs. Patterson has every right to determine who has access to her children, except when that determination is based on personal animosity rather than the children's best interests," Margaret countered. "Which brings us to this." She pulled out printouts, the screenshots I'd taken of Ashley's file on me, with its twisted interpretations of innocent interactions. Ashley's face went white. "This is a file Mrs. Patterson kept on my client," Margaret said. "Notice the dates. She began documenting concerns about Mrs. Davis before she'd even spent any significant time with the grandchildren, before there could have been any legitimate issues. This suggests premeditated alienation." "That's her personal notes," Blackwell started. "Personal notes that demonstrate bias and intent to isolate Mrs. Davis from her family. We also have testimony from 12 individuals who knew Mrs. Davis before and after Mrs. Patterson entered the family. All of them describe a devoted mother and grandmother who was inexplicably cut off from her son and grandchildren. Carol, the mediator, looked at Ashley. "Mrs. Patterson, would you like to respond?" Ashley's carefully constructed composure was cracking. "Those notes were private. How did you break into my house?" "I was authorized to be in your house for a week caring for your children," I said quietly. The file cabinet was open. "You snooped through my private files." "I found evidence that you've been systematically documenting and distorting my actions for years. Why would you do that, Ashley? What did I ever do to you?" "You tried to control everything. You questioned my parenting, my decisions." "I ask questions. That's what grandparents do, what mothers-in-law do. It's normal family interaction. But you couldn't tolerate anyone having influence over Michael or the children except you." Ashley turned to Michael. "Are you going to let her talk to me like this?" Michael was staring at the printouts on the table. "Is this real, Ashley? You really kept a file on my mom?" "I was protecting our family." "From what? From my mother who loves us?" His voice rose. "I've been reading those notes. Look at this one. Subject undermined my authority by suggesting Emma might enjoy soccer." "Soccer, Ashley. My mom suggested our daughter try soccer, and you wrote it down like it was evidence of abuse." "You don't understand. Your mother was trying to come between us." "No," I said firmly. "I was trying to be a grandmother. There's a difference." Ashley's attorney cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should take a break." "No," Ashley said. "No breaks. I want this on record. Deborah is trying to steal my children. She's always been jealous of me, of what Michael and I have. She's alone and bitter, and she wants to destroy my family." Patricia put a warning hand on Ashley's arm. "Ashley, dear, perhaps—" Ashley shook her off. "You all think I'm the villain here? I'm the one who's with those children every day. I'm the one who sacrifices everything for them. And what does she do? Shows up for 1 week, plays fun grandma, and suddenly everyone thinks she's wonderful." "Ashley," Michael said quietly, "stop." "No, I won't stop. I'm tired of being painted as the bad guy when all I've ever done is try to give our children the best life possible. If that means keeping toxic people away from them, then that's what I'll do." "Toxic people," I repeated. "Is that what you tell Emma and Lucas? That their grandmother is toxic?" Ashley's eyes flashed. "I tell them the truth, that you're manipulative and inappropriate, and that we don't see you because you can't respect boundaries." "Boundaries you set unilaterally," Margaret interjected, "without input from your husband or consideration for the children's well-being." "I don't need Michael's input. I'm their mother." The room went silent. Michael stood up slowly. "Say that again." Ashley realized her mistake. "Michael, I didn't mean—" "You said you don't need my input about our children, Ashley. Of course I value your input, but someone has to make the hard decisions." "Hard decisions? Or controlling decisions?" He picked up one of the printouts. "You documented that Mom brought Emma a library book for her 3rd birthday. You wrote age-inappropriate content, did not consult with parents first. It was goodnight moon, Ashley. Goodnight fucking moon." I'd never heard Michael swear before. "Michael, please, you're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking clearly for the first time in years." He looked at me. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I let this happen. I knew it was wrong, but I was too tired to fight, too afraid of the arguments, too worried about keeping the peace." Ashley's attorney stood. "Mr. Patterson, I strongly advise you not to make any statements." "I'm not your client, Richard. You work for my wife." Michael looked at Carol. "I want my mother to have regular, unsupervised visitation with my children. Whatever the court thinks is reasonable. And I'll testify that she's been a good mother and grandmother, that this whole situation has been because Ashley refused to share the children with anyone she couldn't control." Ashley's face went from white to red. You're choosing her over me? I'm choosing what's right for our children. They need their grandmother, and honestly, they need less pressure and more love. Emma's 5 years old and she's already anxious about disappointing us. That's not normal, Ashley. That's not healthy. Patricia stood as well. Michael, if you don't support your wife, then what, Patricia? You'll cut me off too? Like you helped Ashley cut off my mother? Michael's calm was terrifying. I'm done. I'm done pretending this is normal. I'm done choosing Ashley's ego over everyone else's well-being. Ashley was breathing hard, her carefully maintained image shattered. If you do this, Michael, we're over. Do you understand? Over. Then we're over, Michael said quietly. Ashley grabbed her purse and stormed out, Patricia hurrying after her. Blackwell gathered his papers, muttered something about conferring with my client, and left. The room felt cavernous in their absence. Michael sank into his chair, head in his hands. I went to him, put my hand on his shoulder. Michael, I should have done this years ago, he said. I just kept telling myself it would get better, that if I just supported Ashley enough, she'd soften. But she never did. She just got more controlling. He looked up at me with red eyes. Can you forgive me? Oh, sweetheart, there's nothing to forgive. But there was, and we both knew it. 3 years of lost time. 3 years of my grandchildren growing up without me. 3 years of pain. But this was a start. Carol cleared her throat gently. Well, this mediation has taken an unexpected turn. Mr. Patterson, are you certain about your statement regarding visitation? Absolutely certain. Then I'll note that in my report to the court. This will likely expedite the process considerably. Margaret squeezed my hand under the table. We'd won. The court hearing happened 3 weeks later. Ashley came with a new attorney. Blackwell had withdrawn from the case after the mediation disaster. Her new lawyer was a woman named Jennifer Hayes, less aggressive but more strategic. Ashley herself looked thinner, harder, her eyes rimmed with red. Michael sat on my side of the courtroom. That alone spoke volumes. Judge Sandra Morrison reviewed the case files, the mediation report, the testimony from my witnesses. She was a no-nonsense woman in her late 50s who'd been on the bench for 20 years. Hayes tried valiantly. Your Honor, Mrs. Patterson is a devoted mother who's made difficult decisions in her children's best interests. While the petitioner may disagree with those decisions, that doesn't give her the right to court-mandated access. Ms. Hayes, Judge Morrison interrupted, I've read the file Mrs. Patterson kept on the petitioner, the one where she documented that the petitioner brought an age-inappropriate book, Goodnight Moon, to her granddaughter's birthday party. Would you like to explain how that demonstrates anything except unreasonable hostility? Hayes faltered. Your Honor, that's taken out of context. Then there's the testimony from Mr. Patterson, the children's father, who states that his wife unilaterally decided to cut off all contact with the paternal grandmother without his agreement, that his wife told him she didn't need his input regarding their children. Ms. Hayes, your client has demonstrated a pattern of alienation that serves no purpose except to exercise control. Your Honor, Mrs. Patterson has the right to determine who has access to her children. Within reason, yes, but not when that determination is arbitrary, cruel, and contrary to the children's best interests. I've also reviewed the psychological evaluation of the children. That evaluation had been devastating for Ashley. The court-appointed psychologist had spent time with Emma and Lucas. Her report noted Emma's anxiety, Lucas's recent stuttering, both children's fear of disappointing their mother. She'd also noted how they'd responded when asked about their grandmother. Emma had started crying and said, "Mommy says we can't talk about her." Judge Morrison continued. The evaluation indicates that both children would benefit from a relationship with their paternal grandmother, that they remember her fondly, that they've been confused and hurt by her absence. Ms. Hayes, your client has harmed these children emotionally through her actions. Ashley stood suddenly. That's not true. I've given them everything. Mrs. Patterson, sit down, Judge Morrison said sharply. No, I won't sit down. I've devoted my life to those children. I've made sure they have every opportunity, every advantage. I've sacrificed everything. And now you're saying I've harmed them? Because I tried to protect them from a woman who undermined my authority at every turn. Mrs. Patterson, she's trying to steal my children. Can't you see that? She's always been jealous of me, of what Michael and I built. She wants to destroy my family because she has nothing in her own life. Hayes was desperately trying to get Ashley to sit down. Patricia in the gallery looked horrified. Judge Morrison's expression was ice. Mrs. Patterson, if you don't sit down immediately, I'll have you removed from this courtroom. Ashley sat, but she was shaking with rage. Judge Morrison took a deep breath. I'm granting the petitioner's request for visitation. Mrs. Davis will have unsupervised visitation with Emma and Lucas Patterson every other weekend, from Friday evening to Sunday afternoon. Additionally, 1 weeknight dinner per week. All major holidays will be split between both families. Ashley gasped. Furthermore, Judge Morrison continued, given the history of alienation and the concerning pattern of behavior demonstrated by Mrs. Patterson, I'm ordering family therapy. Mr. and Mrs. Patterson will attend co-parenting counseling. The children will attend age-appropriate therapy to address the anxiety documented in the evaluation, and Mrs. Patterson will attend individual counseling to address her control issues. Your Honor, that's excessive, Hayes began. Miss Hayes, your client kept a file documenting perceived slights from her mother-in-law for years. Your client told her husband she didn't need his input about their children. Your client has caused measurable psychological distress to 2 small children by cutting them off from a loving grandparent for no legitimate reason. I don't think therapy is excessive. I think it's necessary. The gavel came down. I sat very still, barely able to process it. I'd won. Not just visitation, unsupervised visitation. Every other weekend, weekly dinners, holidays. Margaret squeezed my arm. You did it. Michael came around the partition and hugged me, and we both cried. Ashley left the courtroom without looking at anyone, Patricia trailing behind her. Hayes gathered her papers with the resignation of someone who'd known from the start this was a losing battle. That night, Michael brought Emma and Lucas to my house. Grandma! Emma ran to me and I caught her, lifting her up despite my aching back. I missed you so much, sweetheart. Mommy said we couldn't see you anymore, but Daddy said that was wrong and the judge said we can come visit every weekend. Lucas climbed onto my lap. Gamma, can we have pancakes? Yes, baby, we can have pancakes. Michael stood in the doorway watching us. His face was drawn. I knew the last few weeks had cost him his marriage. Probably. Ashley had moved into her parents' house. Divorce papers were being prepared. Are you okay? I asked him quietly while the kids played with toys I'd bought for them. No, he said honestly, but I will be. This is right, Mom. I should have done it years ago. I was so tired, and it was easier to give in than to fight. I forgot that some things are worth fighting for. Your children love you, Michael. They'll remember that you stood up for them when it mattered. I hope so. He watched Emma carefully arrange a tea party with stuffed animals. Ashley's saying terrible things about you, about me. Her parents are threatening to sue for grandparents' rights from their side. Let them try. They won't win. Not with their history. She's going to make the divorce ugly. Probably. But you'll survive it. We'll survive it together. He nodded then. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry it took me so long to remember that love means protection, not control. I love you too, sweetheart. That night, after Michael left with the kids, I sat in my house, my small, modest house with its secondhand furniture and worn carpet, and felt more at peace than I had in years. I'd fought for my family, and I'd won. Not because I was perfect, not because I had resources or connections or power, but because I'd refused to give up, because I'd documented everything, because I'd found support, because I'd stood firm when Ashley tried to break me, and because, in the end, the truth mattered. The truth that love isn't control, that family isn't possession, that children need grandparents and stability and people who love them unconditionally, not perfectly. Ashley had lost because she'd built her world on control and manipulation. And control, I'd learned, is just fear dressed up as strength. Real strength is love. Love that fights. Love that endures. Love that never gives up. I'd won because I loved my grandchildren more than I feared the fight. And that made all the difference. 6 months later, my life had transformed in ways I couldn't have imagined. Every other Friday, Michael dropped Emma and Lucas at my house with their overnight bags and bright smiles. We'd established routines: Friday night pizza and movie night, Saturday morning pancakes, trips to the park or the library or the children's museum. Sunday morning, we'd make breakfast together, and they'd help me in the garden. Emma was blooming. Her anxiety had decreased dramatically according to her therapist. She'd joined a soccer team, her choice, not mandated enrichment, and talked endlessly about her friends. The nail-biting had stopped. She laughed more. She'd even started bringing art projects to show me, colorful and messy and perfect. Lucas's stutter had almost completely disappeared. He was more confident, more talkative. He'd bonded with a neighbor's dog and wanted to become a veterinarian when he grew up. Not a doctor or lawyer or engineer, a vet because he loved animals. And that was okay. Michael had filed for divorce. It was contentious, as predicted, but he had an excellent attorney and documentation of Ashley's controlling behavior. The therapist's reports didn't help Ashley's case. She'd attended only 2 sessions before declaring the therapist biased and refusing to continue. The judge hadn't taken that well. Michael had moved into a modest apartment near my house. He looked tired but lighter somehow. Free. I didn't realize how much energy it took, he told me one evening. Constantly managing her moods, walking on eggshells, monitoring everything I said or did. It was exhausting. I know, sweetheart. The kids are happier too. They still see Ashley every other weekend, but they're not as tense when they come back anymore. Emma told her therapist that she feels like she can just be a kid now instead of always trying to be perfect. That broke my heart and healed it simultaneously. My weekly dinners with the kids were on Wednesdays. Sometimes Michael joined us, sometimes just me and the kids. We'd cook together. They loved helping, even if it made everything take twice as long and created twice the mess. Spaghetti with too much sauce. Cookies that were slightly burnt. Scrambled eggs that were a bit rubbery. Perfect, in other words. My social life had expanded too. The friends I'd reconnected with during the court case had stayed in my life. Susan and I had our book club meetings again. Margaret and I met for lunch monthly. I'd even started dating. Nothing serious, just coffee with a retired teacher named Robert who made me laugh. The library had asked me to increase my hours, and I'd agreed. I loved my work. The children who came in for story time, the teenagers I helped with research projects, the elderly patrons who came in just to talk. My work wasn't meaningless, as Ashley had claimed. It was full of meaning. I'd redecorated my house. New couch, fresh paint, photos everywhere, of Michael, of Emma and Lucas, of my friends, of my late husband, my history, my family, my life, no longer hidden away because seeing them hurt too much. The garden was thriving. Emma and Lucas had their own small plots where they grew carrots and strawberries. Mostly, they watered them enthusiastically and checked daily for any sign of growth. When the first strawberry ripened, Lucas's excitement was worth more than any expensive toy. My life wasn't grand or glamorous, but it was mine, full of love and laughter and meaning. Ashley's life, by contrast, had imploded spectacularly. The divorce proceedings had revealed things I hadn't known. Michael had discovered credit card debt Ashley had hidden, over $70,000 spent on maintaining appearances, designer clothes, expensive enrichment programs for the kids, renovations to their house that Michael hadn't agreed to. She'd been using his bonuses without telling him. Her control extended beyond family to finances, and Michael's attorney had made sure the judge knew it. Ashley's parents had funded her legal fees initially, but after months of losing battle after losing battle, even they'd grown tired. Patricia had apparently told Ashley she needed to accept reality and move on. Ashley had responded by not speaking to her mother for 2 months. Ashley's social circle had noticed her absence from activities. The perfect mask had cracked publicly during a school board meeting where she'd been advocating for more stringent academic standards for kindergarten. Another parent had mildly disagreed, and Ashley had launched into a tirade about lazy parenting and mediocrity. The video had gone somewhat viral in local parenting groups. People were reevaluating their opinions of the perfect mother. Michael told me, reluctantly because he still felt guilty, that Ashley was struggling at work. She'd always been ambitious, but her recent volatility had led to conflicts with colleagues. She'd been passed over for a promotion. There were rumors she might be on a performance improvement plan. Her relationship with Emma and Lucas during her custody time was strained. She still tried to control everything: schedules, activities, even what they talked about. The kids were learning to gray rock her, a term their therapist had taught them, meaning to be unresponsive and boring to avoid triggering her controlling behavior. It broke my heart a little, even though Ashley had tried to destroy me, because she was still the mother of my grandchildren, and her pain affected them. But it was self-inflicted pain. Pain born from refusing to change, to acknowledge fault, to compromise. The therapist had told Michael that Ashley showed signs of narcissistic personality disorder, an inability to see others as separate people with their own needs and desires. Everyone was either an extension of her or a threat to her. I was grateful, at least, that Michael had escaped, that the children had escaped. Emma came to me one Saturday afternoon while we were baking cookies. "Grandma, can I ask you something?" "Of course, sweetheart." "Why is Mommy so angry all the time?" I chose my words carefully. "Your mommy loves you very much, but sometimes grown-ups have problems they need to work through. Her anger isn't about you. It's about things inside herself that hurt." "Will she get better?" "I hope so, but that's up to her. She has to want to get better." Emma nodded solemnly, then went back to cutting cookie shapes. But she looked relieved somehow, like having a name for it. Problems she needs to work through made it less scary. That evening, Michael stayed for dinner. We ate in my backyard, watching Emma and Lucas chase fireflies in the gathering dusk. "Thank you, Mom," Michael said quietly. "For what?" "For fighting, for not giving up, for showing me what real love looks like." He paused. "Ashley texted me today, said she wants to reconcile, promising she'll change." My heart clenched. "What did you say?" I said no. That ship has sailed. She had years to change, years to compromise, years to be a partner instead of a dictator. I'm not going back. He smiled, but it was sad. The kids are happier now. I'm happier now. Even if it's harder financially, even if it's lonely sometimes, it's better than living in constant anxiety. I'm proud of you. I learned from the best." He squeezed my hand. "You fought for us when we couldn't fight for ourselves. You showed me that love means action, not just words. That sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the children play, and I felt profound gratitude. Not because Ashley's life had fallen apart. I took no joy in that. But because my family had healed. Because my grandchildren knew they were loved. Because my son had found his backbone and his peace. Because I'd fought for what mattered, and I'd won. And winning looked like this: a summer evening, fireflies, laughter, and love. Simple, perfect, everything. So that's my story. The story of how I fought for my grandchildren and won. I've shared it because I know I'm not alone. So many grandparents are alienated from their families. So many people are controlled by narcissistic partners or relatives. So many of us feel powerless, but we're not. Documentation matters. Persistence matters. Standing up for what's right matters. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have fought, or would you have walked away? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe. I have more stories about family, justice, and standing up for yourself. Stories about finding strength you didn't know you had. Thank you for listening to mine. Remember, love is worth fighting for, always.